Made for Me, Chapter 18. For a month, Danielle stayed to plan. To her relief, Andre issued a few complaints, as he was now constantly scheduled for VIP excursions or filling in when someone was out. Some nights they talked after 11, but often it was short text message goodnight, their FaceTime relegated to Saturday evening through Sunday afternoon. It usually began with a late dinner, followed by dancing or a visit to a jazz club. Sunday invariably meant brunch and another day trip. During her free time, Danielle was on the water sailboarding or walking under the canopy of trees along Lake Zurich waterfront. She was even learning German, much to Lonnie's surprise and Stephen's delight. One weekend, Danielle learned Andre had been missing his Saturday night games. That evening, she insisted on seeing him play hockey, bringing Lonnie and Stephen with her. The three of them met half a dozen cousins from Geneva, and she got to be friendly with two of Andre's other good friends, Christian and Lucas. She'd seen them the first night at Monroe's, along with Max. "Only 4 weeks," Danielle said to Lonnie, referring to the final build-out. It had been delayed due to a back order on the bar stools and the lights, but they would still finish the renovations in time for the grand opening scheduled for the 4th of July. "Assuming the initial tasters are happy," Lonnie said. Danielle nudged her thick, warm sheepskin coat against Lonnie's shoulder. As soon as Andre changed, they were going to one of their favorite jazz clubs. "So, are you in love?" Danielle laughed. "The only surprise about the question is that it took you so long to ask it." "Are you going to answer, or shall I assume the best?" If Danielle had a list for the ideal man, Andre possessed everything she'd put on it. Intelligent with a good career, athletic, and a risk-taker. And like her, they both love music and going out. What I do know is that I'm incredibly happy and content. I'd rather be with him than anyone else. No offense to you and Stephen. Lonnie gave a hearty laugh. "None taken. You've now been here 2.5 months and with him the entire time. That's a record for you, girlfriend." It was, thought Danielle. The jazz bar was so crowded, but Benny had reserved a table for them at the front of the club. The Moroccan-born pianist and singer knew of Andre's friend and had developed a soft spot for Danielle the first night he heard her hum. He'd been trying to get her to sing with him for weeks, and tonight she was finally ready. She'd been cajoled to sit next to him on the bench as Andre watched, his face expressing an emotion that increased her gratitude for the dimly lit jazz den. "I'm thinking crazy," Benny said under his breath. Danielle cleared her throat, wondering how her voice would sound after months of dormancy. "Lonnie told me you sang in college," he remarked as he played the refrain, the signal for the room to quiet. "Music was my major, along with finance." Benny shook his head. "More money in finance," he remarked, his voice low and appreciative. "Maybe, but a lot more love and passion in music." Benny began and she followed, her voice clear and emotive, her breath control sustaining the low notes to the high. She glanced over at the one man in the room the message was meant for. She was crazy for him, all right. Sunday night, she called her father before she turned out the lights, and she gave him one message. If Zurich was heaven, she was among the angels. The following Friday, Lars knocked on her office door. "What happened to you?" she asked, noting the patch over his right eyebrow and another on his left hand. "You get in a fight?" "Rock climbing in the Alps," he informed her. "Isn't that a bit out of your risk profile as the managing director?" She noted his pale green suit with slim-cut legs. A good color, she thought, and a deep blue tie. She wondered before now why it was that he favored blue ties, indigo, azure, sapphire, and always some print, texture, or call-out. Lars's smile grew. "I'm usually a bit more adept at assessing the situation, loose rocks notwithstanding. But," he said, his tone of voice changing, "the reason I'm interrupting you is because I have something for you. Season tickets to the opera." "What for?" "Ulrich and I believe you have earned it." She glanced down. "That's awesome." Danielle wondered how they knew she liked music, or if this was a good guess on their part. When she looked up, she caught an amused expression on his face. Lars's face was all-knowing, like the Wizard of Oz. "We had something called your college transcript and made certain assumptions." "Oh, right." It would have identified her double major. "The back passes for the inaugural ballet of the year, Anna Karenina. Also, I notice you haven't RSVP'd for the first company event in a few weeks." Danielle shook her head. "Sorry about that. I completely forgot. We didn't have a lot of company events in the States outside of the annual Christmas party. I'm not obligated to bring a guest to these things, am I? The date was a Friday night, and Andre would more than likely be unavailable. Lars gave her a strictly professional look. It's considered good for him to do so. Well, no guarantees. You might find someone around here willing to go with you. Don't drop your eyes to his lips, she coached herself. Ignore the intonation in his voice that was completely at odds with his expression, one that told her at least one man in the office would accompany her. If given a choice, would you rather not have me attend if I have to come alone? Lars's lips pressed forward in thought, and she couldn't help herself from looking at his mouth. He did say she could date people in the company, but she had no desire. Well, not enough desire to stop dating Andre. Oh man, I just used the word dating. I'm dating Andre. I'm in a relationship with Andre. Are you okay? Lars asked. I'm not purposefully trying to overstep my bounds, he said, his objective professional voice returning. I am doing my job in trying to encourage you to have an existence outside these four walls, which, according to your numbers, I'm not sure is happening. It's all for the best, she said, returning to humor. You don't want me to be distracted, remember? His eyes betrayed no humor, only strength. Some distractions are actually beneficial. It took a few minutes for Danielle's pulse to slow down after Lars left. She put her headset back on and opened the company invite. Sure enough, an outdoor client company boating excursion was scheduled. Also noted on the calendar were 3 weeks off in August for vacation and a trip to San Moritz for a company event. Danielle turned the music up, trying to get the visual of Lars out of her mind. For all that she felt for Andre, their shared interests in biking and music, and their physical compatibility and desire, she was still drawn to the managing director. She was sure it was her imagination, but every now and then, she wondered if he felt the same towards her.